It's a question I get pretty often. It's what do you do if you have a full-time job and you just can't focus on your art? What if you're so drained after you're done with your 8 hours that you just can't do your work? Just gonna quickly check again. So what I have to say about that is that I think you need to look at your job. If you're not doing what you'd like to be doing, then you need to be looking at your job as your job. So it's basically a service that you're doing so you can just be sustained. But if it's not fulfilling you, then it's just your job. It's not your work. I think that's a big distinction to make between a job and work. Even when you're doing art, let's say, you probably will still be getting jobs quite a lot of the time. It might not still be your work, but at least while you're doing those jobs, you'll still be practicing the medium of your work. So then you can use that later for whatever it is you'd like to do. But if you have a full-time job that's just draining you, I totally understand that. I've always had jobs that have nothing to do with me, pretty much. I've always been in the wrong place in a way. I've never been in the right environment so far. I've both made poor choices and I've also had very little guidance in everything I've been doing. So I've just sort of been blindly feeling my way around. By the way, I just realized I don't even know if I'm in the shot. You might be looking at some owl or something. But I hope you like the owl if it's not me. Hope you like me if it's me. Hope you don't prefer the owl. So basically where this is going is if you're not in the right place, if you don't have a fulfilling job, I can definitely understand how draining it is to go for 8 hours somewhere, see very little meaning to what you've been doing just now, and then have to also focus and just pull out more energy from yourself and get work done when you might not even want to be doing anything. Um, I might as well make a side note here now and just say that for a lot of years I've been depressed. Like it's not been for a few years now, but I would say that more of the time I've been alive, I've been depressed rather than be fine. So if you're in a place where you can't do anything, I understand completely what you mean, but there's really only one way to change the status quo, and that's to work your way out of it. There is really no other way than to just claw your way out of whatever hole you're in. You're just going to have to do more work than anyone else around you might be doing. But the thing is that status quo, just the default of what's happening to you, that's how most people live. Like they just make decisions one after the other and they just get to some place and they might be fine with being there. But if you want to change something, change always requires a big sacrifice and a lot of investment on your part, whether it be energy, work, actually it's both of those and a lot more things. You're pretty much going to have to give up a lot of things that you don't want to give up. I mean, everyone sees life as this thing that needs to be enjoyed, and that's true. You want to enjoy your life and you want to do the things that are meaningful to you, but at the same time, at some point, there might come a time where you just have to focus and put your head down and just maybe work for 1, 2, 3 years, however long it takes. And in those 3 years, you might have to make tremendous sacrifices. Um, to give personal examples, I've probably not been to like a restaurant or something like that in more than 5 years. I've not gone anywhere in at least 4 or 5 more, maybe more years. I've been to the cinema like once or twice in the last 2 years, and that's been it. Like that's the only place I've been to where I spent money or just spend time in, and that's because I've chosen to work part-time so that I can focus more time on my art. And you might say, well, that means you're not working full time, so how can you relate to my working 9 to 5? Well, I've done that too. But the thing is that I've actually chosen to sacrifice money in order to gain more time. And that's something that you could consider too. And you might say that there's no way to do that. And really, the biggest problem that most people struggle with is just there's no way to do that. There's no way to do that. I hear that one a lot. And I would say that for the most part, really, there's almost nothing that you can't do or change. I mean, you can move back in with your parents, you can live in a shared house, you can live with a friend, you can live on someone's couch. There's always something that you can figure out and do. I would say that anytime you think that there's nothing you can do, you're probably not being completely honest with yourself. And this video, by the way, is not meant to show me as some sort of working cycle or anything like that. It's meant to show for people that can concentrate on their work and get it done. It's just sort of showing a different mindset. Like, I'm not like this all the time. I have plenty of breaks. I spend time doing things that I like. But at the same time, there needs to be this thing that you develop where you're almost uncompromising and American Psycho like, where you just have to do something, you're compelled to do it, and you go and do it. By the way, if you don't feel compelled to do anything, I've been there too. I remember a few years ago, my girlfriend asked me, like, do you feel compelled to do anything? We were both sort of trying to figure out what we'd like to do. And I don't feel compelled to do anything but just sit down and eat whipped cream and chocolate and chips and watch stuff. It's the only thing I'm compelled to do. But anything that you do consistently will become a habit. So spending time working or doing the work that you're supposed to be doing, it will be very difficult at first. And actually visualize this for myself when I was first starting out and I was trying to figure out how long will it take me to get better. I have sort of an athletic background, so I've been lifting weights since I was like a kid. So I would picture myself as being really overweight, but my end goal is to be a bodybuilder. So I don't want to just be someone who's average. I don't want to just be normal. I want to be a bodybuilder. So just for an average person to become a bodybuilder, that's like a huge amount of work. But if you're already overweight, that involves you getting down average and building up to bodybuilder. So that might be like 2, 3, 5, 10 times the amount of work that a normal person needs to do. But if you're in a situation where you don't have the luxuries of being average, like let's say you had no prior training in art, or you're working in some crappy job and you don't have any money and all that stuff. If you do need to work, then you just need to work, and you have to think about what's stopping you. You have to just work yourself in a sort of weird frenzy like I think I am in now. I think it's probably because I only slept a few hours and I had loads of coffee so I can stay up. I think that's probably it right now. So